Lord, open the door. Oh God. Can I hear your voice? I'm just trying to amen. So we thank you for what you're going to do. We believe, Lord Jesus, generations will be influenced by this. First Corinthians chapter 4, verse 15, Paul says this. Let's read it, and then I want to just tell you a little bit about where some of this journey started for me. So I'm going to open with kind of my story and tell you why it's been so significant, both in my life as a child and in my life as a father. So I have a wife named Renata. We have 4 kids. And it's really our aim and our goal to make disciples of our children. That's even partly why Olivia's traveling with me. Let me read this. Even if you have 10,000 guardians in Christ, you do not have many fathers. You say mothers. You do not have any fathers. For in Christ Jesus, I became your father through the gospel. Therefore, I urge you to imitate me. And I believe that one of the great things we need is great fathers. If you look at culture, even if you looked at the syllabus and even just quickly watching some of those videos and reading the articles that were given to you, the great need is for great fathers and mothers. And at the end of the day, we can look at all the different pieces across society, all the different places across the nations. But what we need people that care, that are intentional about being great fathers, great mothers, great parents. And so I want to start there. For me, my journey began, my parents are pastors. They were pastors in New Jersey. And they had gone 8 years without having kids. And then they had the shock of their lives when in 1976, my mom went into labor with twins. And so she was in labor for 81 hours. Yeah. And then after having the second baby, the first one was 4 pounds, the second one was 4 pounds, and after the second baby, the doctor only hours before realized that it was not twins, it was triplets. So the doctor said to my mom, there's 3 in there. My mom nearly cried. She was crying already. And my dad began to groan in pain about triplets hitting college on day 1, the first day of college. And so my parents had the shock of their lives when they had triplets. And so they named us David, Dana, and Deborah. And 4 years later, my brother Dan came along. My mom's name is Debbie, and my dad's name is Hal. And my dad, as a pastor, is a disciple maker. So the way that he had structured his church was built upon small groups, built on making disciples, and he was a strong advocate of the idea of Jesus making disciples of 12, and so helping men and women in his church all make disciples of 12. And so in these early moments when we were little tiny toddlers, the Lord began to speak to my dad about making disciples of his kids. And so the language that he used is that if Jesus had Peter, James, and John, then David, Dana, and Deborah were his Peter, James, and John. And so my dad began to reschedule, rethink how he lived his life. And so instead of kids being just kind of bringing them along adding them, he began to think about his family first being his ministry. And so in addition to all that he had to do with pastoring, and my dad's amazing. My dad is a phenomenal pastor to this day, is my closest friend other than my wife and my kids now, but he's in his 70s, and he's praying for you right now, by the way.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, so, yeah, you can thank Hal a lot. This whole session is actually going to be about Hal. And so my dad began that journey of asking the Lord what it would look like to intentionally make disciples of his kids. And so by the age of first grade then, since we were kind of like, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of weird to be a triplet. I was born with two girls, never had my own birthday. It's kind of like being born in a litter. Like you just, it's always a group thing. And so we all hit first grade at the same time. And my dad decided to spend time intentionally one-on-one with each kid each week. And so we all had a weekly time alone with my dad. And so my dad rearranged his schedule in beginning as a first grader, where we had what we just meetings. And so my parents called it dates. I prefer the word meeting. So my dad began Monday. What he would take out my mom. So Monday was Debbie Day. Tuesday was David Day. Tuesday was David Day. Wednesday was Dana Day. Thursday Deborah Day. Friday Daniel Day. And every single day until we finished high school, and actually after we finished high school, many of us continued. He would take intentional time, and when we started when we were young, it was 30 minutes in elementary school. And when we got it to be a little bit older as teenagers, it became more of an hour. And I'll tell some of my journey in many seasons. For me, it was 2 to 3 hours because I was a special needs disciple. Like I needed extra time with my dad. I needed extra help, especially in the dating season. So, but my dad, my dad began that idea like. Jesus spent time with his disciples, he was going to have his family be his first church. And honestly, this is the thing that radically shaped my life. The reason why I'm here, Andy Bird gave me this invitation to come and talk to you about family. But the reason why Andy even thinks about that is because my teaching, my life is often about the Father, heart of God. It's often about making disciples of our family because of someone who made a disciple of me. And so the reason why I'm giving you that today is because I want you to have a vision for being intentional about discipling your kids. And so Jesus had 12, and then he's got the 3. And if you have 1 child or 2 children or 3 children or 4, however many you have, I want you to just imagine, and where we're going to go this week, and I'll give you some methods, is for you to gain this vision of, I'm going to put my family as top priority. Meaning, it's really tempting for us to hand off even making disciples of our kids like we would anything else. So, if we hand off to a coach to make an athlete of my child, maybe we might hand off education to the school. We could consider even handing off discipleship to the church. But I want to invite you to think about as first, I am a disciple. Got it? Disciple of Jesus. Second, one day, let's just hold the applause on this one. One day, you're going to have a spouse, and you're going to be intentional about that in that relationship. But I am saying that your third biggest priority, even before any sphere that you go to influence, any education that you get, any ministry that you do, is that I'm going to make disciples of my kids. And that if God gave me these 3 children, or these 4 children, these are ones that I want to take spiritual responsibility for. And I'm going to aim ultimately, yes, I believe, obviously, God is responsible. But you're a steward of what he's given you. And you taking intentional time, efforts, to make disciples of your kids. And so, my journey, and the reason why I'm telling you all this is I want you to know how much I value this. I'm doing with my kids to the best that I can what my father did with me. All three triplets ended up having 4 kids in a matter of 6 years, so there's 12 cousins that are all within 6 years. My sister Deborah actually comes and teaches here sometimes, Deborah Hebert. She's 8 minutes younger than me. I like to say I'm 8 minutes more mature than her. She was that third triplet that was hiding and shocking my parents in there, but all of us did. Then my brother, he's 5 years younger, Dan, and he's got 2 kids. But all of us were so formed and shaped by the intentionality that my dad did with each one of us that all of us are doing this with our kids. And so my aim today, kind of my big picture, where we're starting, and we'll do more than just parenting, but where I want to start with is for you, when you think about bringing reformation, when you think about influencing, I want you to think specifically about your family. So most of you are really young in here. Some of you have young kids. Some of you majority of you are still single. But I want you to have that vision of what would it look like, and even to have time, even in these lecture series, to wait on God and ask God, all right, what would it look like for me to make disciples of my kids? Let me tell you this journey for me. I spent my 6 years growing up in elementary school in northern Idaho, and then my dad took a church in Oklahoma City, and in